Isn't working out too good.
I was gonna say, I mean, I know your attitude's been like, hey, this year's coming with me, take it or leave it, but I mean, even still, I mean, you gotta be a little frustrated, right?
That on me. That on me.
Is it frustrating though to have to go through this? I mean,
it is, but what are you gonna do? I mean, I have it, and I'm always gonna have it, so I got to deal with it, you know. But what are you gonna do? Of all, you know, I flew out there. Of all the times, the thing hits me right when I'm, you know, right when I'm doing this award thing. So it sucked.
You came to the Oxford Union and visited you there when you was it very similar in Trinity College Dublin, kind of the opinion makers of the future?
So how many people showed up for this thing in Ireland? It was crazy. Yeah, it was completely different than the Oxford one. You know, the Oxford one had that room and there was some people there. This thing was jam-packed and there were tons of people outside that couldn't get in. Oh, really? They were selling tickets to it. People were trying to make fake IDs to get into the college. It was pretty cool. It was fun. I had a good time out there. The night before we went out and we met some of the fans out at this place called Temple Bar in Dublin, and it was fun.
Everybody was stories great out in that bar.
Yeah, that's where I was yapping my big mouth off, and stuff was getting tweeted.
You have any more insight on Dominick Cruz? You said you know you just know he's supposed to be back. I mean, have you talked to doctors? Any target date? I mean, do you see somebody defending an interim title again, or does he need to be next?
No, hopefully this summer. Hopefully this summer the kid's back, and you know he's going to have to get back into training, and hopefully, I mean, if the kid gets hurt again like that, I mean, I don't know what to do.
Have you thought about it at all? I mean, I know you said you don't like to talk about stripping him, and he's done everything that the company has asked, and I know, so I know you hate
awesome.
to.
Well, you know, the upside for him is, you know, Fox loves him too. He does other things, and you know, I don't know. We'll see how this thing plays out.
Do you think it's possible these guys will have to defend? One of the winner here will defend an interim title again?
I hope so. No, I'm hoping that the winner of this fight here fights him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Summertime. You think he'd be ready to fight in summertime, or that's when he starts training?
Hopefully he can fight in the summer.
Dana, could you talk about the UK situation again for us here on the record? And as you say, this was a statement of intent to make a card so strong so early in the year. In your ideal world of worlds, how many UFC events would you hold in the UK?
So here's what we're working on right now. This is what we're working on. We're working on dates where we end up in London, Manchester, Dublin, you know, and several other places around the UK, right? We do them every year, same date every year, and with the right television deal, we bring big fights over here.
And it's in stone, and it goes every year. So
every year. So you do that for, you know, you work out a deal for 3 years. We come to these places, hopefully 30 years, but we'll start with 3 and we'll see how it goes. And we build big events in all these places, you know, same time every year. That's what we're working on right now. That's what Gary's working on.
Why lock it in that way? Is it just simpler planning if you keep the same dates?
That way, you know, people can count on it. People know when it's coming. It's a destination. You know, when you know that there's going to be a date every year at the O2 in London, you know, people will travel from
Memorial
from around
Day,
the world.
4th of July in Vegas.
Whatever. Exactly. That's what we're working on right now.
So you're understanding
this is
British
what I'm telling you.
Calendar,
believe me when I tell you, this guy's been in this position for months, right? He is the right guy. He's got all the right ideas, and he's getting shit done over here. It's going to happen. Finally, this stuff is going to get taken care of, and it's going to get done the right way. We're going to get the UK sorted out. Not just the UK. He's doing work all throughout Europe and, you know, down in South Africa too, and we're working on some pretty cool stuff right now.
Do you think those dates that you mentioned, those cities you mentioned, could happen this year? You said Manchester, Dublin.
Ask him that question.
Okay.
Yeah, ask him that question.
You mentioned in earlier press conferences that you guys are making moves into places like India and China. Do you have any updates?
We already did our show in China.
Yeah,
it was a huge success. Huge success. So off that China show, we're doing a big deal over in China now. So, and then India, I guess we're still working on India and the Ultimate Fighter. Yep.
Yeah, you said the main thing about getting more shows over here was because of the TV deal.
Yep.
Do you have any leads on what channel that'll be on?
He and I have meetings this week. Lorenzo flies in here tomorrow, and then the 3 of us have meetings with television this week, all this week.
Dana, questions about UFC Stockholm. You previously tweeted that the tickets were sold out within the first few hours, but we contacted Ticknet, and even up to 3 days afterwards, there were still tickets available.
Right. Well, there's 200 tickets left. That's a sellout, brother.
And another question: is the co-main event set? Is it a match that's been announced yet, or has it not yet been released?
Has what?
The co-main event.
Yeah, we had one. We had a co-main event, and then we yanked it. So we're making another co-main event. Which the answer is no. We haven't yet.
What happened to that one?
We yanked it.
How come? Was it an injury or?
No. I guess Gary didn't think that Stockholm was ready for that co-main event yet.
Well, trust me, we are. Just a quick question about Alexander Gustafsson as well. He was previously stated before the match against Shogun that he would get a title match. Now it seems that's not the case. How many wins would you say that Gustafsson needs if he wins the President?
Oh no! If he beats Mousasi, this is a big fight for both of those guys, obviously. As far as Gustafsson goes, he beats Mousasi in that fight. He's in line for a title shot. When what? I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't. Wait a minute.
Tadame reported today that Vitor and Luke was set for an April date in Brazil, but you already have 4 Saturdays locked up in April.
Yeah, the next, I just don't know the date yet.
Definitely in Brazil, but not sure.
In Brazil.
Main event?
Yeah. Do I have the what?
Location?
No. I just don't know where and when.
Do you have an update on Cyborg? She was going on TV asking for a release this week, and is that done? Is she done with the company at this point?
Yeah, obviously I've been out of town, haven't been able to deal with that, but yeah, she wants, telling you right now, wants nothing to do with this fight with Ronda. I was saying yesterday when I was talking to the people over in Ireland, it's like, this is the biggest show in the world, this is the biggest, we were working with her to get her a deal, whatever. When you send a letter from your lawyer and your doctor saying, I will die if I try to make 135, I mean, it's the goofiest thing. I've never seen anything like it in the fight business. Okay, so you don't want to make 135, yet you want to talk about fighting Ronda. First of all, you tested positive for steroids and got stripped of your title. And you're trying to talk about, how Ronda doesn't want to fight you. But she's the champion at 135. Ronda goes to 140 and does the fight at 140. It's not even for a title.
Right.
The fight just makes no sense. So what happens is, so we'll figure something out where Cyborg gets some fights, Ronda defends her title a few times, and then maybe Ronda moves up to, whatever and fight. They want nothing to do with that. Wants nothing to do with it. It's wacky beyond wackiness.
Are you open to still working with her in the future, or just kind of burn that bridge?
Listen, we're trying this whole, this women's thing's coming together. We have, when I talk to Joe and Sean Shelby, we have 10 of the best 135 pounders in the world as far as the women go. And we're going to do this division. We're going to see how this fight goes down and whatever. Cyborg is pretty much irrelevant right now. I mean, she really is. She's irrelevant. Go out there and win some fights again, get your name back, stay clean, stay off some steroids, and get your career back on track, and then we'll talk. But for her to think that she can, that everybody should move around and jump through hoops for her is insane.
She suggested that you guys wanted her to go fight in Invicta. Is there a formal partnership or relationship there?
No. So what happened? That was true. So what happened was there is no 145-pound women's division. So she's under contract with us. So we'd get her some fights somewhere else. So get her some fights. Let's play this 135-pound thing out and see what happens and see where this thing goes. No.
Do you have any updates in the negotiation for Spider and Weidman fight?
Nope, nothing yet.
Any places?
Where it's going to be?
Yeah.
Not yet. No. I told you guys the next Anderson Silva fight will probably be in I don't know. Could be Chicago, could be Vegas, could be Texas, could be Brazil.
I've heard that well, you said in previous interviews that if Bisping had the Belfort, that he would have got the title shot. Now that he lost that fight, how long is the road back for Bisping?
Well, one of the many things that I love about Michael Bisping is Bisping lost that fight and called right back and said, I want to fight again. Give me a fight again. He jumped right back in, and you know, he's in another big fight now. So if he wins this next fight, you know, Bisping's one of those guys. He's one of the best in the world, has been for a long time, and he always stays right there, but can't get right here. You know.
Also, Anderson Silva has previously said that if you were to fight Michael Bisping, because he's previously fought in England, that he would like to fight Bisping in London maybe. Would that be any possibility?
It'd be pretty huge.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Again.
When are you coming back? Because you haven't been back for 3 years.
Yeah.
Are you going back there?
It's part of this whole thing we're working on.
So within a year, you think you'll be back in Dublin?
I hope so, yeah. That's what I hope to do. I want to say to you right here now, yes, because that'll mean we got the television deal we're looking for over here. So if that happens, then yes, believe me, things are going to go like this once that deal gets done. So.
Conor McGregor and Marcus Williams, will that be on the main card in Sweden for the Irish viewers?
Will that be in the main card?
The main card, yes.
I don't know. That I can't answer that question yet. But boy, let me tell you, they're pumped about that kid down there.
Yeah, I know.
They are pumped.
He's gonna fight him.
It's awesome. Yeah, I was saying yesterday, think about this. When I went there, this is what all the fans were telling me when I saw him in Ireland. But when I was there for UFC 93, I said, after this fight happens here, there's going to be an explosion in Ireland. And they said, and that's exactly what happened. And the fact that UFC 93, I said that, UFC 157, we just signed a kid from Ireland. You know, when you take, these small countries, it's like finding a BJ Penn in Hawaii. You know what I mean? Where it's big. I love stuff like that.
As the lads mentioned yesterday, Paul Penn as well, so you sort of watch out for.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? They had a list for me yesterday of guys that I need to watch out for in Ireland. Yeah.
Dana, I previously read a report about a possible Ultimate Fighter Mexico and also of a potential strawweight division. Or is that correct, or are those in the works?
Yeah, I said it's gonna be a while before we have a smaller weight division, the straw weights. But as we go into Asia and Mexico and all these other places, South America, you're gonna have smaller guys. Even Ireland, England.
And is there any plans for when you plan to introduce a new weight division? If it's this year,
No,
next year?
there's no plans. I'm just saying, as we continue to expand, we will add more weight classes, and that one will eventually be added to.
Pin weight?
Yeah, exactly. Pin weight.
The Ultimate Fighter Mexico, is that something that's in the works concretely, or is it also just?
I don't know. We've already made moves down there. We're doing a lot of work in Mexico right now. Yeah, we've already gone down there, done scouting, and we've got a whole roster full of guys, and yeah, it's well on its way.
So can we expect the UFC event in Mexico this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Dana, two questions. First of all, any comment on news that the ESPN UK deal is going to come to an end and you might be moving to Sky Sports in the UK?
Any truth to it?
Have you heard this rumor?
Oh yeah, I'm all over it. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's literally. Lorenzo wasn't supposed to come on this trip, and he's coming now. I mean, we're here. We're here to get this TV deal done. That's what we're here for.
The other question: you were in Ireland yesterday, past couple of days. Are you excited at all if you pick up like a good Irish prospect about igniting the Irish American market? Because every other person in America has got some Irish in them,
Yeah, we all think we are anyway. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. That's what I was just saying to these guys that in UFC 93 when I went there, I said, there'll be an explosion down here after we hold an event here, and now we're signing a kid at UFC 157. It's a big deal. It's very cool. I'm real excited about it.
Why have you never been back?
Oh my God, I've been talking about this for 20 minutes. No television deal. No television deal here. The television, we're 6 or 7 years behind where we should be here. No television deal. But like I said, we got the right guy in place now. This dude is kicking ass. I'm really excited about when I get together with Gary, whether he flies to Las Vegas and comes into the office or I come out here and talk to him, I get excited every time I talk to this guy. He's the real deal. This is the guy that's going to get it done. It's a big deal. It's very cool. I'm real excited about it.
Why have you never been back?
Oh my God, I've been talking about this for 20 minutes. No television deal. No television deal here. The television, we're 6 or 7 years behind where we should be here. You know, no television deal. But like I said, we got the right guy in place now. This dude is kicking ass. You know, I'm really excited about when I get together with Gary, whether he flies to Las Vegas and comes into the office or I come out here and talk to him, I get excited every time I talk to this guy. He's the real deal. This is the guy that's going to get it done. This is it. If he doesn't get it done, you'll never hear me say, this is it, we're getting it done now, because this is the guy that's going to do it.
And Josh Barnett revealed this week that he turned down an offer from you guys. Is there a counter coming, or is that it? Negotiations done?
You know, he's a big boy. He's been around for a long time. He kind of flies by the seat of his pants anyway. He's never really been, I mean, even after he won the title. I mean, imagine if Josh Barnett had stayed in the UFC his whole career and what he could have accomplished and the money he could have made and all the things that could happen. But he's his own guy. He wants to do his own thing. I got no problem with that.
But the offer's there if he wants it. I mean, are you done with him?
No. I haven't dealt with him at all.
Right.
Joe Silva was dealing with him. So, you know, I know there's an offer on the table for him, and if he wants to take it, he's, you know, it's been offered, and if not, he's always been his own guy anyway, so he could.
Ronda Rousey fighting next week, obviously that's a big week for you. Too early to determine, you know, how things are tracking, what the expectations are, or what do you think?
You know, I'm not really focused on that right now since I've been out here.
I don't mean necessarily a specific number, but I
can tell you this. You know, I was pretty surprised by some of the negative feedback about her and Liz being the main event and all the things, but I see it all turning now since Primetime came out. And last night I watched the first cut. You know, we're building the show right now because it all happens real time. There's no way that you can watch this show and not want to see these girls fight. It's just the second episode's just as good as the first.
I guess the big question that's been going around the media is why wasn't this on Fox? You know, why ask people to pay $55 versus let's put it on network TV, people can tune in for free, they can satisfy their curiosity without having to reach into their pocket. So why did it make sense to put them on pay-per-view versus Fox?
She's been on television for years. It's not like this is the first time the girls have ever been on TV. They've been on Showtime, pulled great numbers on Showtime, you know, considering what Showtime pulls. They pulled great numbers. It's a great card. They deserve to headline it. And listen, you know me, man. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't buy it.
Dana, is it a proud moment for you when the Rousey fight takes place? Is it a proud moment for you and the company?
Is it what?
Is it a proud moment for you?
It is. It actually is. You know, especially if you look at what my stance was a couple of years ago. You know, for me to sit here in front of everybody and say, yeah, these women deserve to be on, not only on the card, but headlining and on pay-per-view. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I was talking to Rogan last night, and like, you know, Rogan is like so pumped for this card. A lot of people are excited for it, so.
You had a chat to, sorry, I was just saying you had a chat to Matt Hughes about it, because I remember him being asked directly in a press conference one time, do you advocate women's MMA? And he bluntly said no.
Yeah, that was me a couple years ago too. Yeah. You have to understand too, me and Matt Hughes are guys that have been around since, 15 years I've been doing this. I've been in this business, and I've seen some pretty nasty girl fights at small, horrible little shows. You know, it's not what you're going to see next weekend. You're going to see two high-level athletes, and the way that they've both carried themselves through this thing. And I mean, if you just look at how hard the training, I mean, the girls' training. Look at the fucking mitt work. The mitt work that the girls are doing on Primetime looks better than half the fucking guys in the UFC.
Technical.
Seriously. Look at some of the guys' mitt work. There's times, you understand this. Every fucking thing that airs on television, commercials, the show open, I don't care what it is, everything that goes through our production does not leave that fucking building without me seeing it first. And I touch everything, right? You know how many times I've had to say, oh my God, look at this guy on the fucking mitts, cut this and put, this guy looks like he's fucking hit the mitts 3 times in his life. You look at these two girls hit the mitts on Primetime. I got to stop because I'll tell you too much, but the next episode of Primetime, there's actually a really cool moment in this episode. It's pretty badass. Yeah, I'm to say that I'm proud is an understatement. Yeah, these girls deserve to be there. They belong there, and I'm excited for next week.
It annoy you when people say Lyoto Machida v. Dan Henderson is the real main event.
Right. No, it doesn't bother me. Hey, listen, if you think that Henderson and Machida is the real main event, that makes me happy too. The card's deep and you like the whole thing, you know? And it goes deeper than that. There's a ton of great fights on that card, so.
This is the thing. To me, it seems like you're putting on the best cards you've ever put on this year. It's like almost night and day different to anything I've ever seen covering the sport. Do you get like? Are you well aware of that? That you're taking this to another level.
It's great when people aren't getting hurt every 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Normally, I'm sitting at one of these things and guys are dropping like flies. Last year was one of the worst years we've ever had due to injury, and not just there's always going to be injuries, but it was like main card or co-main and main event falling off every other week. So yeah, I mean, if you saw last year before we started the year, we're like, this fucking year is going to kick ass. The fights that we got lined up are going to be amazing. Boom, 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 guys just getting hurt. So when the fights that you plan go off, it's a great thing. Plus, the other thing that happened too was bringing in these guys from Strikeforce. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw my blog the night that those kids were winning and the fights were happening that night, but that night was the highest rated prelim show we'd ever done in the history of UFC prelims, right? With all these Strikeforce kids, and all these Strikeforce kids were so just pumped up to be there and to be fighting in the UFC, and it was just, that was a great night for me too. I don't know if you could tell on the blog, but I was having a fucking blast that night, and kids were just going crazy. It was a fun night.
It was awesome.
Yeah, so it's just, we got tons of great fighters now. Everybody's healthy, and as long as it stays this way, it's going to be a good year.
To Michael Bisping, you briefly mentioned and hinted that he's in for another big fight. Is it against one of the Strikeforce guys? Can you elaborate on that?
What's the question?
Belcher. Sorry, man.
Who's he fighting? He's fighting Alan Belcher.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, he's fighting Belcher. Yep.
Also, one other question. Who's next for Nick the Tooth?
Who's next? Nick the Tooth. Nick the Tooth drank too much in Ireland. He's not ready. He's not fit to fight anybody right now.
Sorry, yeah, he was drinking the Guinness, wasn't he?
Oh, he drank. He drank the Guinness. He drank the local ale. He drank Scottish whiskey, 200-year-old Scottish whiskey. He had snuff. Have you ever heard of that? You guys see the snuff?
Yeah.
They were selling snuff back there, which is basically Vicks Vapor Rub in a powder form. Nick the Tooth hit everything you could possibly do in Ireland. Yeah, he had fun.
So he's the official taster then, is he?
Yeah.
He's not behind you.
Yeah, the Tooth had fun in Ireland, man. Shogun and who? And Rashad. It's a fight. Yeah, I mean that's a fight that could happen. Yeah. Yep. But I keep hearing this thing that Nogueira and Shogun want to fight each other. They want to do the rematch. Yeah. I don't know how that makes sense for Nogueira, but that's what they want. That's what I'm hearing they want. Far be it from me to not give somebody what they want.
You know, speaking about playbooks getting torn up, like with your injuries and stuff last year, and then the start of this year, obviously, Overeem, if he won that fight, was going to go into a heavyweight title shot. And what exactly did your face look like as you watched Overeem getting knocked out by Bigfoot?
Believe me when I tell you guys, I always read stuff on the internet. I was like, oh, Dana must have been pissed about this or putting his head through the wall about that. I don't ever go into a fight with any expectations. And if you, again, on that last video blog, I telling Chuck, I went up and told Kane, well, the good news is you are undoubtedly the best heavyweight in the world. Bad news is it just cost you a lot of money, big guy, because that would have been a big fight for him.
Dana, one of the most popular conversations in recent history has been the term super fight. Would there be any super fights going on this year, possibly, or not? Or is that something for further?
I hope so. I mean, that's what I want to do. Our big anniversary is coming up in November, man, and I want to do a big one in November. So,
what would you be targeting?
Big one. The biggest of the big.
You still feel good about New York for that date, or is it?
We'll see, man. I felt good about New York for years, and it's still not here. So it's like my TV deal in England.
How about Vegas news? The Ultimate Fighter 17 finale. We found out this week that Def Leppard is booked on the date at the Hard Rock.
Yeah.
So is there?
So what happened was Def Leppard was doing a residency there, and they extended it because it was, I guess, it's doing great. So good for Def Leppard. So we're going to move. We're going to go somewhere else. We're talking about doing Mandalay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you got a title fight on there. It's a good card.
Yep. So we'll probably do Mandalay. But could end up somewhere else. We're just talking to Mandalay right now. Yeah.
You know this GSP Anderson Silva super fight that the UFC is pushing for?
And I like, when you talk about super fights, dude, I love fucking Pettis and, you know, how do you not like the Pettis-Aldo fight? I mean, that's a fucking super fight. Some people were like, are you shitting me? Pettis sends a text and he gets are you fucking shitting me? You don't want to see Pettis versus fucking Aldo? That's craziness. I love that fight. Anyway, what were you saying?
Yeah, I was going to say that because Anderson's calling for GSP to move up to, you know, a catch weight or something, come up in weight, and is that not broadly similar?
Anderson would go to 70 too.
Would he?
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
It's a process in dealing with him.
Right.
It's a process that you gotta.
Because what I was going to say was if the catch weight
He says he
happened,
can make 70 easy.
right?
Which is insane.
Have you found him easier to deal with since that last Sonnen fight then? Because he seemed to open the doors to you suddenly last year.
He's
Anderson,
always
didn't
been.
he?
It's not that he's been. You've never heard me say that he's difficult to deal with. The only times I was ever really upset with him was Abu Dhabi, you know, and a couple of times when he did the Talis Latis and the Maya fight were the only times that I was ever really upset with Anderson Silva. He's actually pretty easy to deal with. He's not. It's just a process. It's a process in dealing with him.
Dana,
but I respect him so much. I'm willing to do the process.
And would you still prefer GSP Anderson to Anderson Jones?
I'll take either one. I'll take either one of them and both. Take either one and both.
Could Jones move up to heavyweight in the future?
It'll happen.
It'll happen.
It'll happen.
Definitely.
It'll definitely happen.
Dana, you talked about your own change in perception with regards to Ronda Rousey and a women's division within the UFC.
Yeah.
Your perception changed. You talked about the UK being 5 to 7 years behind America in terms of perception. Do you ever get
Behind the rest of the world?
Well, behind the rest of the world in perception. Do you ever get tired of going and trying to have to change perception around the world because it is a part of your job? Do you ever get tired of having to do that?
It's what I do, man. That's literally what I've been doing for 13 years since we own this thing. No, it doesn't. You know, it's really just about doing business. You know, the market here in the UK isn't like the United States. There aren't a zillion channels here where there's all this competition. Things are pretty locked up tight here. It's a tough market to break into, and they can put the squeeze on you here if they want to, and they have been on us. There's no doubt about it. You guys know as well as anybody who watches this sport, you put us on the biggest network in the UK. We did it in the United States when people thought it couldn't happen in the United States. We did it in Brazil. We just went to China and put on the most successful event in Macau history. Everywhere we go, it happens, and it will happen here too. Just give us that platform, and we know we'll do it, but they're not going to give us that platform.
But it is having that platform, isn't it, in order to have it in the mainstream, for it to be seen by enough eyes.
Yeah.
And
for us to bring the UFC to the UK the way that you want it, and the way that the fans want it, and the way that it should be here, we've got to have that television deal.
Is Anderson signed now, and how many years is he signed for? Or sorry, how many fights?
He's not signed yet. No, that deal's not done yet.
So what was his 10-fight deal that everyone was signing?
Well, I said, where that came from was I said, we're working on doing a new 8-fight deal with him, and he said, let's do a 10-fight deal. That was what I said. I didn't say we did it, we signed it.
You accidentally got misquoted. People took your they quoted you wrong and reported it as it was done when you had actually said it.
Is that an indication of the process with Anderson? Then
It
you
is.
Say 8 fight,
Yeah,
you
it's
say
a
10, you
process.
say,
It's a process.
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
It's
Listen,
fun,
if he wants
really,
to sign 8, I'm fine with 8. He said 10. You know. Yeah. I'm not worried about the Anderson Silva situation whatsoever. It's the last thing on my mind.
We'll see any fan expos this year in Vegas?
I don't know about Vegas, but yeah, actually it would be Vegas, wouldn't it? Yes.
Memorial Day, 4th of July?
Yes. I don't know off the top of my head, but yes.
Maybe one?
Yes, definitely one.
Definitely one, and elsewhere as well?
Yeah. That's one of the things that we're talking about when we do this thing out in the UK. We're talking about doing big fan expos too, built around these things. More than fan expos, even bigger than fan expos. We've got some big plans for the UK. We just got to get this shit. Got some big plans. It's going to be fun.
Young Ryan Couture has just joined the UFC from Strikeforce.
I do know that.
Yeah, and he's got his first match lined up for Sweden. He's fighting Ross Persson. Yep. He's a pretty highly ranked guy for your debut match. Is there an element of FU Randy Couture in that piece of matchmaking?
Not even a little bit. I would never do that. I would never. I mean, I called Ryan after the beef with me and his dad. Yeah. I called him. We had a man-to-man conversation. It went very well as far as I was concerned. Yeah, I would never do that to the kid, and I told him too. He said, I'm honored to be in the UFC. That's where I want to fight. And I said, understand this is your house. Don't ever walk around in the hallways at the events or anywhere else and feel like you're not wanted here, because you are. And I respect the fact that you want to be here, and I appreciate it.
I mean, publicly he seems to be on the same page as you and, you know, handling it professionally. But for his father, does Randy's name get erased from the record now? Like, we don't hear it get mentioned on commentary and stuff like that? Is he kind of gone?
I mean, have you guys seen me trying to shy away from talking about Randy or anything like that? My beef with Randy is Randy's not a man. Randy is not a man. He's not a stand-up guy. He's not. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I've dealt with this guy my entire career here, and nothing about this guy is stand-up. He's a man, 100%, 150% man in that cage. But once he steps out of that cage, you've never met the exact opposite of a fucking man than Randy Couture.
So he's now banned from Ryan's Corner for UFC events, right?
Yeah, well,
but is that something the AC can get involved with, or is that strictly a UFC decision?
It's not a UFC decision. It's not an athletic commission decision. Ryan and I had a conversation. Right. We had a conversation, man to man. I told him where I stood. He told me where he stood. And as far as when I got off the phone with him, we had a resolution to the whole thing. I called him up and said, this is going to be the weirdest phone call you've ever had, but I think this needs to be done, and I just want to let you know where I stand. And I have nothing against Ryan Couture. Ryan Couture's never done anything to me. He's a fighter trying to make it, and he wants to fight in the UFC. He wants to be a world champion someday. Then this is where he should be.
I guess aside from all the the drama and stuff with Randy, that it must be kind of a proud moment still, because it's the first time you've had a father-son lineage in the octagon or in mixed martial arts, really.
Yeah, I never really thought of that. Yeah. So what about it?
Well, just because it's such a new sport that it's really the first time you've had that kind of father-son continuity, whereas if you look at other older established sports, it's become a common thing in some sports, but this is the first time we've really had it in MMA, which I think is kind of a landmark for the sport, personally.
Kind of a what?
Landmark.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
That's great.
I know you've been busy.
I never really thought about it.
I know you've been busy the last couple of days, but the International Olympic Committee deciding to drop wrestling.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts on that? I mean,
it's crazy.
Obviously, I don't know how much the UFC could do, but it seems like it would be in the interest to try to do something.
I've been battling this problem for years now. It's colleges are dropping it, high schools are dropping wrestling. I mean, the problem with wrestling is it's an awesome base for fighting, for mixed martial arts, for everything. I mean, what it does, I've never wrestled, but what I hear it does to guys who've wrestled, it changes people's lives, and it's this grueling hard work and dedication that all the things that go in with being a wrestler. The problem is nobody wants to watch it. In any sport, especially these days, it's about selling tickets and eyeballs and viewers and all these other things. And there's been a lot of people saying you got to fucking do something, but Gary and I were talking about this yesterday. What this could be is the evolution of mixed martial arts becoming an Olympic sport.
So, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this shows that MMA will never be a part of the Olympics because they're getting rid of that. They won't approve jiu-jitsu."
We bring spectators, eyeballs, whether it's on TV or whatever it is. This sport draws. Wrestling doesn't. I can't be the guy to run out and try to save wrestling. I've been doing it for you know how many wrestling programs I've funded over the last 5-6 years? A lot.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see wrestling go away either. It's such a big part of the sport. But something's going to happen here. It's going to evolve into mixed martial arts and MMA or something. I don't know. But I don't think wrestling's going to go anywhere. But competitive wrestling definitely is.
Yes.
Cool.